The scammers are out to get you, stealing more than £78 million in the last year. Investors who fell victim to the so-called clone firm investment scams in 2020 lost an average of £45,000 each. We see these scams all too often, and even the smartest investors fall for them. But there are steps, 4 steps in fact, that you can take to avoid becoming a victim. In this video, the £78 million scandal of clone firm investment scams and the practical steps that you can take to avoid becoming a victim yourself. Watching this video could save you tens of thousands of pounds this year. Hi everyone, I'm Martin Bamford, a chartered financial planner, personal finance YouTuber and money author. On this channel I talk about personal finance, investing and happiness. I make these videos to help you become wealthier and happier. If that sounds like a great result, click on that little red subscribe button, become a part of our subscriber community. It's completely free and you'll never miss an episode. More than £78 million has been stolen via clone firm investment scams during 2020. The Financial Conduct Authority, the FCA, has issued a new warning as these investment scams are on the rise, placing investors at significant risk of harm. Reports of clone firm investment scams rose by 29% in April 2020 compared to March when the UK first entered its lockdown. The data from Action Fraud reveals that investors reported losses of more than £78 million last year, with an average reported loss of £45,242. The FCA has published this data as part of its Scam Smart campaign, warning investors to avoid fake firms. Investors are more likely to be susceptible to financial scams as a result of the pandemic and the uncertainty that it causes. According to FCA research, 42% of investors say they are worried about their finances due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and 77% have a plan to make an investment during the next 6 months to help with their financial situation. Despite these intentions to invest, the FCA is pointing out that even experienced investors are at risk of being scammed. 3/4 of investors said they felt confident about spotting an investment scam, but more admitted that they did not know or they were unsure about what a clone investment firm was. A definition then: a clone investment firm is created by a scammer using the name, address and firm reference number of real businesses which are authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Once established, the scammers use these clone firms to issue sales promotions to unsuspecting investors, convincing them to part with their money in the belief that they're dealing with a legitimate business. One step you can take to protect yourself from these clone firms and scammers is to check the FCA's warning list of firms before you make an investment. You can also verify the details of the business using the FCA register. I'll link to both of those in the description of this video. The FCA says it's important to use the telephone number listed against the firm on the FCA register to make sure that you're dealing with the correct business. With so many people working from home, I think this step is especially important, as you might be speaking to a scammer if you rely solely on their mobile phone number. The FCA research found that 38% of investors said they would check the firm reference number against the FCA register. However, this step alone is insufficient to avoid dealing with a clone firm, as they are simply going to copy that reference number, which is already in use by a genuine business. Mark Stewart, Executive Director of Enforcement and Market Oversight at the FCA, said, "Clone investment scams can look real and sophisticated, but anyone can spot them by following our advice. Fraudsters use literature and websites that mirror those of legitimate firms, as well as encouraging investors to check the firm reference number on the FCA register to sound as convincing as possible. Last year we issued alerts in relation to over 1,100 firms, including clones, which has more than doubled since 2019. And we're working with the National Economic Crime Centre and the National Cyber Security Centre to take down clone sites when they are discovered." If you're considering an investment, visit the FCA register to make sure the firm you're dealing with is authorised. Check our warning list of firms you should avoid. Use the contact details on our FCA register, not the details the firm gives you. And check for subtle differences to avoid clone firm scams. And if you're still unsure, call our consumer helpline for further information. When it comes to clones, I cannot emphasise enough how important it is to double check every detail. As part of their warning, the FCA shared the story of Janet from Chester, who lost £40,000 to a clone investment firm. Janet said, "I'm quite savvy-minded when it comes to money. Being a finance officer, I thought I was a confident investor and thought I knew how to spot the warning signs of a scam. After searching the internet for high-return bonds, I received a call the next day about investing in student accommodation." I found legitimate details of the company online. Everything seemed genuine, so I invested. A few months later, after a couple more investments, I started to get a bit worried. I still hadn't received confirmation of the latest investment. I tried to call the contacts I'd been speaking to, but the numbers were invalid. It was clear I had been scammed. I had lost £40,000. I really thought I'd be able to spot a scam, but now I know they can be far more sophisticated than I ever imagined. Intelligence and experience are sadly no defense against these scammers. They are incredibly good at what they do. They work really hard. They put in the work to convince their victims of their authenticity, and in many cases the amount of work they do to convince you is just beyond comprehension. Scammers go to great lengths to establish credibility and then convince you to hand over your money. Graham Biggar, Director General of the National Economic Crime Centre, said, "The National Economic Crime Centre and partners, including the City of London Police, Serious Fraud Office and Financial Conduct Authority, are working with the National Cyber Security Centre to tackle the fraudulent and cloned website behind investment fraud schemes." Consumers should be wary of investment websites that may appear genuine, and I would ask anyone who is thinking of investing their money to check the contact details on FCA's Financial Services Register first, or contact the FCA's Consumer Helpline for advice. In one specific initiative targeting FCA-identified fake firms and cloned websites, we worked with the NCSC to remove over 90 cloned websites, plus 134 UK scam phone lines and 105 associated email addresses. Along with our partners, the NECC is building an intelligence picture of organised criminals who are using cloned websites and fake comparison sites to carry out investment fraud. We will use every tool at our disposal to track down, disrupt and prosecute those responsible for this criminal activity. There are 4 steps that you can take to protect yourself from clone investment firms. Number 1, reject unsolicited investment offers, whether made online, on social media, or over the phone. Be wary, even if you initiated contact. It's worth pointing out on this first point that cold calling about pensions is illegal. That follows a campaign that I was pleased to support a few years back, led by my friend and fellow financial planner Darren Cook. If someone calls you or emails you out of the blue about pensions or even investments, just start with the assumption that it is a scam. Number 2, always check the FCA register. Make sure that you're dealing with an authorised firm, and also check the FCA warning list of firms to avoid. I'll put a link to both of those in the description. You need to check both because of this issue of clone firm scams. The scammers might be using the details, the name, the address, the firm reference number of a genuine authorised firm, so check the FCA warning list too. Now, this approach isn't foolproof, but it will hopefully pick up on a few scammers. Number 3, only use the telephone number and email address shown on the FCA register. Don't rely on the contact details the firm gives you, and look out for subtle differences. As I mentioned earlier in this video, this is one that's slightly tricky right now because more people are working from home. Be wary if your only point of contact is a mobile phone number, even if you can see that mobile number on the firm's website, because remember, they might have cloned the website as part of their scam. Number 4, consider seeking impartial advice before investing. Just as smart, experienced investors are not immune from scams, neither are professional advisors, sadly. But getting a second opinion from an experienced professional, when you combine that with these other steps, is a great way to spot scams more easily. It helps that financial planners like me are fairly jaded and cynical when it comes to investment opportunities. We will give you our honest opinion when something looks too good to be true, or appears to be trying to break the unbreakable link between risk and return. Those are 2 common red flags associated with investment scams. Have you come across clone firm investment scams before? Tell me about your experience in the comments. I'd love to hear from you on this one. Thank you for watching this video. Until next time, I'm Martin Bamford, and remember, when it comes to your money, the more you know, the faster it can grow.